Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar. We're going to be joined by a lovely panel of alumni from last year's Undergraduate of the Year Awards. So everybody that's registered, I do hope you know a little bit about what the awards are, but if you don't, I am just going to go through it very quickly at the beginning of today's session. So my name is Bryony, and if you have had any email through the Undergraduate of the Year process, then you have probably heard my name before. I will be the person who will not stop pestering you to submit your application until you click the submit button. And then just when you thought that you would stop hearing from me, I'm sure the panel can attest to I will not stop pestering you. Even after the final, I will not stop pestering you. So you'll probably get quite used to hearing from me. But enough of introducing myself. The Undergraduate of the Year Awards are a national competition for undergraduate students. Now, you would nominate yourself for an award category, and then you would submit an application for that category. Each award is partnered with a prominent graduate recruiter who would offer the winner their prize. Now, as I said, you would pick an award. You then start your application by filling in your personal information, so your name, your university, what you're studying. You would then complete some essay questions and online tests, and then the award partner for the category that you have entered will assess you. So that might be an interview, an assessment centre, a presentation, and then from that assessment, the award partner will pick their top 10 and their winner, and you will be invited to a grand final. Now, the key dates is the application deadline is the 30th of January. Now, that is your essay questions and any online tests. They must be completed by noon on Monday, the 30th of January. So not Monday coming, the Monday after. So you really don't have very long left. The second stages will be done in February and March. So that would be kind of any interviews or assessment centres. And then the grand final this year will be on the 21st of April. Now, if you are successful and make it to the grand final, it will be hosted in Canary Wharf in London. It will be hosted by a celebrity. Last year, we had the glorious Sue Perkins. We'll have welcome drinks and a live band, then a 3-course sit-down meal. You'll get the opportunity to network not only with the other finalists in your category, but also all the other finalists that have made it and all the other award partners and kind of professionals from those companies. And then last but not least, we will announce all of the winners. But it isn't all about the winning, as cheesy as it sounds. 3 of the students on the screen here, they were finalists. Only Isabel that I've screenshotted there was a winner. So lots up for grabs. Over 50% of the finalists last year were offered paid opportunities. So as long as your application is good enough, then absolutely everything is up for grabs. Now, we have 13 categories this year, so I'll just go through them just in case you're still undecided. We've got AI and robotics with Ocado, Black Heritage with Sky, celebrating neurodiverse talent with Rolls-Royce, construction, engineering and environment with ACOM. We've got excellence through adversity with Rolls-Royce again, female again with Rolls-Royce, first generation with BT Group, future actuary with Aon, future lawyer with Clyde & Co, LGBTQ+ with Clifford Chance, National Student Pride, My G Network and Attitude. And then we've got management with Enterprise Rent-A-Car, maths, physics, economics with Glencore, and last but very not least, we've got software engineering with Skyscanner. So lots to choose from, lots of information. This will be recorded and sent out to you afterwards, so please don't worry if you can't take it all in one go. I know I talk quite fast. I just want to share a little bit of a video now from last year's final, so you can get kind of a little bit of an understanding about the atmosphere and the vibe of the awards, and then we will pass over to our lovely panelists today. So let me share this video for you all.
A very, very good afternoon and a warm welcome to the targetjobs Undergraduate of the Year Awards 2022. In partnership with SHL, Thank you for being here. Thank you. Today's awards ceremony is all about meeting some of the very best, most talented, high potential UK university undergraduates, and it really is one of the most enjoyable things that we get to host. Please give a very warm welcome to your host, Sue Perkins.
Simon, thank you for that introduction, without which half of you would be thinking, look, there's Mel from Mel and Sue.
The winner of the Black Heritage Undergraduate of the Year Award is Samuel Ola.
Honestly, I'm still in shock even now. I think when my name was called out, it felt like a real privilege because I'd spoken to the other finalists and everyone had such inspiring stories, and to be singled out of those amazing talents is honestly a real pleasure, and I'm still shocked, to be very honest.
Absolutely gobsmacked. Like I had to ask someone across the table if they'd really just said my name.
I'm not sure what winning means to me, but I'd say that it opens up doors for me in the future and allows me to have that internship and experience that opportunity and sort of learn more about the industry before going into it in the future. I would say to others just to take this opportunity and apply for the Undergraduate of the Year Awards. It's something that you can do while you're at university at any point of your career at university, and then just do it, because you don't know what's going to happen. Like me, I just did it and now here I am standing as a winner, so why not apply?
The quality and the variety of things that people are doing has grown significantly over the years, and we're just blown away generally by the people that we see and that we meet.
I was a bit hesitant at first because obviously I didn't study management. It doesn't matter because you can be from any background, any discipline, and still put an application in. It's definitely worth a shot. It's a really good process in itself. You find out a lot about yourself. And you get to meet some great people along the way.
This year we've offered all of the finalists internships at Rolls-Royce, so it's not just about actually winning it. Yes, that is brilliant and that should be celebrated, but it's a way of us connecting with some really fantastic future talent and being able to offer you internships and opportunities within Rolls-Royce. But even if you enter the process, it's a process that gives you experience about talking about your skills and strengths and networking and meeting like-minded individuals and companies, so I'd encourage any student to come be part of it.
When you have this kind of opportunity, no self-doubt, there's no chance for second guessing, just do it and you just never know, you're a winner regardless.
I've learned tons today by speaking to 18, 19-year-olds who do things I could never dream of.
Fantastic. So I hope that gives you all a little bit of an idea of what you could be in line for if you are successful this year in making it as one of our finalists. I would now like to pass over to our lovely panel. It does look like we may have lost Annabelle, so hopefully Annabelle can make it back to us at some point throughout the panel session. I know we've had a couple of technical issues this morning, so fingers crossed. But yeah, so if everybody could please just maybe introduce themselves. Junaid, if you maybe want to go first.
Yeah, sure. My name is Junaid. It might sound different than it looks, but yeah, I went to Leeds Conservatoire. I've just graduated. So it's a music specialist university in Leeds. My course was popular music vocals, so I specialised in singing. And the award I applied for was the LGBT Undergraduate of the Year Award with Clifford Chance, My Due Work and Attitude as well.
That's brilliant. And then Jess?
Hey everyone, my name is Jess. I'm currently at the University of Nottingham. I'm in my last year studying engineering. And this time last year actually, entered the Excellence Against Adversity Award, which it feels kind of weird to be on the other side of the camera in such a short amount of time, but things move pretty quickly, I guess. So thank you for having me back, and it's nice to meet everyone.
Fantastic. And Annabelle, seeing as we've got you back, would you want to go next?
I'm so sorry about my issues. I'm not really sure what's happening. Hi everyone, I'm Annabelle and I am a final year law and politics student at go to Queen Mary's, and I last year applied for the Black Heritage Undergrad of the Year Awards. And yeah, thank you for having me.
No, that's fantastic. And then Lucy?
Hi everyone, I'm Lucy. I applied for the Undergraduate of the Year Award celebrating neurodiverse talent. I'm currently in my final year at Lancaster University doing clinical learning, which is basically a law degree but has practical aspects such as working in the law clinic built into the degree.
Nice. And then Jack?
Hi guys, so I graduated from Salford in June just gone, and I'm now in Manchester at the University of Law studying my LPC, and for the Undergraduate of the Year Awards I applied for the Future Lawyer Award.
No, that's fantastic. Thank you very much. So there's quite a broad spectrum of different award categories that you all applied for. As you can see this year, there's 13 different categories, which can be a little bit overwhelming if you do want to apply for one, and you can only apply for one category. So how did you kind of navigate which category that you wanted to apply for? And I'll put that out to any of you.
I can go.
Yeah.
Oh.
Nope. Go on, Lucy.
Sorry. I sort of looked at all of the different categories and sort of based on what I thought was most relevant to me, because I sort of encompassed a lot of different categories, the LGBT one, and then the law student one, obviously, and then neurodiverse talent. But when I was looking through all the different, the companies and what was possible, and also the, different stages, I realized neurodiverse talent was probably the most realistic for me in terms of what I could do when applying and what was possible in terms of the stages and then the outcome. And also I wanted to do something that wasn't law specific, which is weird. A lot of people say, what's wrong with you when I say that? But I wanted to try something that was out of my comfort zone. And I found that even though it was neurodiverse talent, it was with Rolls-Royce and it was also a coding internship. And I thought that was, a better sounding one than others.
No, that's completely understandable. And Jack, did you want to add on to that?
Yeah, I was just going to go first, just I think mine's kind of quite simple and straightforward. So obviously wanting to go into a career in law, and having actually looked at Clyde & Co.'s vacation scheme and seen that they were partners of the award, for me at that point in January, having already submitted a number of vacation schemes, the kind of last option for me just to do a final application was the awards application itself. So obviously being Future Lawyer, a partnership firm that I kind of wanted to work with and that I'd looked at previously, it kind of all just connected together. But what Lucy just said, I do think picking an award that really resonates with yourself, not necessarily choosing one just because it's kind of related to your degree or anything like that, but if it's something that jumps out at you and something that you're passionate on speaking about or just really interested in, I think that's a good place to start.
No, that's brilliant. Did anybody else want to add on to that?
Yeah, if I could just add to what Jack and Lucy have said, I guess Target Jobs have done a great job of making sure that there's an award for everyone. So first step is obviously like just go and see what's out there and see what resonates most with you. I think that you're going to find yourself more drawn to certain awards more than others. But if you're lucky enough that you fit lots of different boxes, then it comes to seeing what's on offer. And I think something that was explained really well in the video is thinking about what goes beyond the, if I wins. So look at the sponsors, see if that's somewhere that you might like to work, because likelihood is that if you make it through the rounds, you're going to get exposure to those companies and it's going to open lots of doors for you. So just keep your mind open and whatever you go for, just get excited about it.
That's brilliant. Annabelle or Junaid, how did you pick yours?
Does anyone want to go? Am I okay to go? I think I've got a bit of a different path, probably less thought through, I think, than Jack and Lucy and Jess. I got told to apply to the award from my friend because at the time, as I said, I'm a performing music student. I was going to go into musicology, which is like the culture of music and stuff, so academia already. But my friend who was on a conversion course told me to apply to this one, and I was the LGBT president for my uni. And I actually submitted my application. I probably shouldn't say this. I wouldn't recommend this. I wouldn't recommend this. Don't do this. But I submitted my application about 10 minutes before the deadline. Don't do this. Don't do it.
Please don't.
Don't do it. It's not worth it. But it worked out. And I would say, like I think Jess was saying, if you do fit into multiple boxes and you feel like you can see yourself going through different pathways on different awards, actually look at the application process. So, for example, I went through Click the Chance and they asked you to describe a project that you did that helped within the community. And if that sounds like something that you can talk about your value, what you've done in the community, or other application processes, I'd recommend having a look at those if you can as well, if you're really stuck. But I cannot say how much this award, even if you don't win, I didn't win, but how much this award can change your pathway in your career and as a consequence of your life. It's a really cool award to apply for.
Nice. And Annabelle?
Can you hear me?
I can, yes.
Amazing. I think with mine, it was probably less thought through. I mean, although I do law, I knew that I didn't want to be a lawyer, but I also knew that there are a lot of like transferable skills, and I looked at where my passion lied and what exactly the awards were looking for. I think with Black Heritage, it was about someone who gives back to their community and someone who is about like propelling the futures of their community and stuff like that. And I'm really passionate about like working towards like diversity and inclusion and stuff like that. So I thought that I matched the profile of who they were looking for. So I'd say that my biggest advice is when you are looking for that, look at what the companies are asking and what the profile is, and then see if you match that and see if that resonates with you, because that helped me.
No, that's brilliant. Thank you, everybody. And I just want to come back to Jess, because I know you mentioned that you researched kind of Rolls-Royce, and obviously if you are successful, you are going to get kind of one-on-one time with the employer. You'll get to see kind of what their culture and values and their ways of working are. Do you have any suggestions on kind of how to research the employer? Where did you look for kind of their values and things like that? Because I know I get a lot of questions from students that come through and they're stuck between two awards. And we always say kind of, well, have a look at the employer, which if you win both of them, which employer would you rather be a winner for? So yeah, do you have any advice on where to look for info on the employers?
That's a really interesting one, because I think it takes being quite introspective to know exactly what you want out of a company, especially when you're so young. So I suppose the first step would be look at the company values and just see what kind of things they stand for. So normally that'll come down to like maybe 5 words or something. It's a little bit corny, but if you go on the website and you can see what their values are and what they stand by, just see if it fits with the kind of place that you would like to work. But to be honest, I think the best information that you can get out of for a company is by reaching out to people. So I guess people call it networking, but if you go on LinkedIn and if you can pluck up the courage to just go and call someone, you'll get a really unbiased opinion of what the company's actually like and see if it's somewhere that you'd like to work. So if you're being really proactive about it, that is what I would recommend. But I think the first step is just going on the company website and seeing what kind of projects they do, what kind of, if you're big on sustainability, what kind of things they're doing to work towards those carbon neutral goals by 2050, that kind of stuff.
No, that's brilliant. Thank you, Jess. And then I just want to pick up on something that you said, Junaid, about the essay questions. Obviously, each different award partner sets their own essay questions, so they're all a little bit different. But I know you mentioned for the LGBTQ award that they ask about a project that you've done and how you're kind of giving back to the LGBTQ community and kind of what you're doing to kind of push positive change. I get a lot of students that come through that are a little bit concerned that they maybe haven't created a Pride event, they've just attended a Pride event. What kind of advice would you give to those students for kind of tackling the essay questions?
That's a really good question. So my Cliff Jones asks you like, what's a project that you've done that helps the LGBT community? I think that's their specific question. So I talked about how back in the day, so I'm trans, so I was born female, and I transitioned halfway through my vocals degree. Which, if you don't do it, it's really really hard, and it's not fun having your voice drop halfway through a vocals degree. But I created like queer prom for people who didn't go to prom, like I didn't go to prom, for people like that. But there was someone else on the award to also become a finalist, who did a radio show, and her radio show wasn't specifically a queer radio show, just a radio show where she was a queer presence on that. And that, I think it's all about the way that you frame what, not value, because it's not really like quantitative, but also what are you doing in your own space, in your own life. I don't think it's as much as it is about achievements as it is like, tell us more about you. So think about it like 50-50, like I need to give, and like what have I been doing, but also who am I? They also want to hear from me, because the second question on the Clifford Chance one is what was it? It was, if you could talk to yourself 5 years ago, what would you say? And then one of the other questions was, if someone approached you and they're nervous about being LGBT in the city, what would you say? So it's also more about like, tell us about you, your personality. It's a time to just showcase who you are as well. But saying that, if anyone is thinking about applying for the LGBT Undergraduate of the Year Award, which I really hope you are, you can find me on LinkedIn. Please shoot me a message if you have any questions. I'm happy to help if I can.
No, that's brilliant. Thank you. And I just want to then open that question up to the rest of you as well. You will have all had to do essay questions for the first part of the application. How did you go about it? Kind of where did you start when you first read those questions?
So for me, I'm quite a structured person, and I think that's helpful in one way and also not in another. But for Clyde & Co.'s application, there was 4 questions, each comprised of different things. But for me, the best kind of way to tackle it was to treat it like a university essay. So kind of take that same structured approach. So it was kind of reading the questions, planning an answer to that, and then amending it, changing it. But one of the best pieces of advice I could give is to write your answers, leave it, and then come back to it a few days later. Just because it's so crazy how you can get so used to reading something that you actually skip so many pieces of like words, lines, just because you've read it so often. So it's really useful to leave it and come back away, and then just amend it again. But I just think it's a case of really making it personal, like Junaid kind of said. I think that's where I started to see results with my applications, was where a lot of people kind of perceive that, yes, the company do want to hear about them and how much you like them and the things they do, but it's also putting that twist on it where you can see yourself working for them, things that interest you, like the award itself, and just integrating that into your questions and answers. I think that's just the best way to go about it, just to demonstrate you as a person, really.
Anybody else?
Yeah, so for my questions, are we allowed to talk about the actual questions? I don't know if they've changed.
No, I think for the award that you applied for last year, they're pretty much the same. So yeah,
Okay.
Absolutely, fire away.
Well, if anyone's wanting to apply for it, here's your chance to get some tips. So I kind of had a similar structure as Jack. I think in law, you kind of know that structure is key. But for my ones, I think one of them is about, resilience, great determination, or your initiative when you demonstrated it. And I sort of just talked about my story of sort of struggling with having several neurodivergent conditions and coming from a background where you're told you can have them, but you just can't talk about them or else you'll be, judged. And I explained how I sort of flipped the narrative and said, instead of doing that, I decided to push through. And I went through all the things that have happened that maybe are not so great, that I've used to sort of push myself to speak out about it, and also to companies about what they're doing wrong and why it's important for them to be inclusive. And that's sort of not really spoken about. So I think, and I was just, they said that that was one of the reasons they sort of chose me, was that I was very honest and open. So that's a very important thing for people who are applying to do. You just be open and be honest. And also, there was one about, share an example of something you've been inspired to learn about. That was, it doesn't have to be related to the company or to the award itself. And I think that's really important. They don't want to see sort of cookie cutter things where you're talking about something that they do. So with Rolls-Royce, they're not cars, they're more aerospace engineering and coding. I spoke about Greek mythology, which is completely out of the wind. And it was interesting because that was something that I was asked about. They asked, why did you choose that in one of my interview questions when I got to the next stage? And it just sort of, went into a really nice conversation. And also, I think a really important thing is also, what has been said is research. Make sure that you know what the company does, which is so important, because I've seen people who were also applying for the award talk about Rolls-Royce being a car company. And if you speak about them as a car company when they haven't been for decades, you're automatically gonna be shown as not actually having properly researched them. But also at the same time, look at the news and look at what they have done or what companies related to them have done. Because I think one of the questions again is two things that they should be focusing on shaping for the future and why. If you look at other companies and see what they're doing, you can say to them, X company is doing this. You should probably consider doing it, given that it's not really seen. And it's just research, because otherwise, when it comes to it, you're going to be so stuck and confused, and it's going to get to a point where you're just not going to apply because you're going to be unable to answer the questions.
No, that is, I think, probably really helpful. So thank you, Lucy. And then I just want to pick up on something that you said there about how you chose to write about Greek mythology, and it was actually something that they picked up on when they were talking to you. Shifa has asked in the chat about how to stand out when answering the essay question. So I'm going to come to you, Annabelle, because I know the competition for all the categories is fierce. But in the Black Heritage category, what did you kind of do to stand out amongst all the other candidates? Because I know we do get a lot of applications. So whatever you wrote about must have been pretty good to get to the final.
I think I think essays in general, as students, there's a tendency. Oh, so sorry. Can you hear me?
We can, yes. I'm thinking maybe if you turn your camera off whilst you're speaking, the connection might be a little bit better.
Okay, is that better?
Yes.
I'm so sorry. I think
don't
with
worry.
essays in general, as students, there's the tendency for us to do a lot of things because university is really hard to juggle and really just sort of like brush it off and not really consider all of the stuff that we're doing or all of the work that we're juggling and not consider how important it is. So I think when you're writing an essay and you're structuring an essay, how you stand out is giving thought to all of the things that you're doing and giving thought to the purpose of what you do. So for example, I content create on TikTok, and I started off doing it because I'm just passionate about education and that's what I like to do. But as I sort of sat down and I realized writing the essay isn't just about trying to position yourself to be appealing for the companies, but it's also about how you define yourself and how you not just sell yourself, but how you communicate your purpose to others. So I think as a student, you're already doing a lot of things, whether it's the course that you're taking, whether it's the things that you're doing outside of your course, whether it's the things that you're doing to sort of set up yourself for future success. It's about really understanding, okay, I do this course and I find this course really exciting because I want to do A, B, C, D. And how I do that is through extracurricular Sorry, did it cut off?
We got how you did that was through extra, and then we lost you.
Okay. But how you do that is through like extracurricular activities, or it's through volunteering and all of that kind of stuff. So I think when you're structuring an essay, it's not just about saying, oh, I volunteer and I'm a student from this course, but it's about defining yourself, because I'm passionate about this, I volunteer here, or because I like this, I do this. And think about the impact it has. As you're volunteering, it's not just teaching you things, but it's allowing other people to teach you things. Talk about what you gain from that. So I think standing out is definitely developing a line of developing coherence and an understanding of what you're doing for its greater purpose. And I always say that create a little elevator pitch. Even if you get to the finals, or even if you're networking in general, if you create 2 or 3 lines and that's just defining you, and make sure it's not just that you're a student. Think about what makes you special and what makes you different to other people, and that's your elevator pitch, and then you go from that. So for example, I say that I'm a student, I'm a content creator, and I'm passionate about anti-racism. Now that's something that makes me stand out, because that combination, other people may not just have it, or they may not say it. So once you've got that in each of your paragraphs that you're doing, or each of the questions that you're answering, make sure that you're tying it back to your elevator pitch, or that every little thing that just makes you you.
Yeah, that's absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much for sharing that with us, Annabelle. So that's kind of the essay question section covered, I think. Now, for each different award, there is a different set of online tests. Now, for some of the awards, there isn't any online tests. For other awards, there can be up to 3 online tests. So kind of, if you did have a test as part of your initial application, did you practice, or how did you kind of tackle going about those online tests? Because they are a little bit different, obviously, to doing the essay questions.
I think Jack as well may have had this from the Future Lawyer of the Year award. In law, there's an amazing thing that I wish I hadn't discovered called the Watson Glaser test. You do get practice questions on them. So I think in the email for your assessment center, whether it's virtual or in person, but part of it may be virtual, which is the test, they send you an email. On that email, they will have 1 practice question test. However, you can find them online for free. The Watson Glaser test as well is broken down into, I think, 5 sections. And those 5 sections, you can practice those specific sections itself. However, there's loads of YouTube videos where it's actually quite fun, but there's people who are currently lawyers in Linklaters and Slaughters, and they'll do a Watson Glaser test 2-3 years into their career. And it's really fun to watch, because they will explain why they get stuff wrong and they get stuff right. So honestly, because I have ADHD, I think I struggle with sitting myself down. But if you go through YouTube videos and stuff, there is no way that there's no reason why you can't succeed at it. But yeah, the Watson Glaser test for any of the law ones and the LGBT one, you will have to do it. I think. I'm looking at Jack as I'm saying that, but I think you may have to.
So for the LGBT award this year, in the initial application, there isn't any online tests. So if you're, sound very, very, very sorry, this year in the initial application, so what you have to submit by the 30th, there isn't any online test. So you don't need to worry about a Watson Glaser at this point in the game. They are yet to confirm what the second set of assessment will be if you make it past that first stage. So it may be at that point there is a Watson Glaser. But for this section now that you need to worry about in the next 10 days, you're quite lucky if you applied for the LGBT award, because it's just essay questions. Very sorry tonight. You still managed to get to the final, so
it was the bane of my life.
You've been absolutely fine.
It took a toll on me.
But Jack, I know for the Future Lawyer Award, there are the tests in this section, and then also, did you have to do a Watson Glaser in the second assessment as well?
So Clyde & Co's was slightly different. The test that we had to do was kind of a behavioral one. So basically what this does is the firm then assesses your answers to the questions to then kind of decide whether you're a good fit for the firm. That being said, there's not much preparation you can do for tests like that because its main advantage is for the firm itself. So they want to know, even though your application might be fantastic, are the skills that they are looking for and kind of your behavioral aspects, do they match up with the firm? So this isn't something you can really go away and practice or learn, and it's kind of beneficial for us as applicants as well, because it does determine whether we would be a good fit. And at the end of the day, if you put genuine answers down that you feel passionate about and you think are correct for you, regardless of what the answer is and what the firm perceives that to be, if you don't get it, perhaps that's a sign that that necessarily isn't the right firm or the right place for you. And if you do, then you're a perfect match kind of thing. So it's not necessarily something you can practice for, but it's definitely part of the application. So I think that's after the written submission part. It's quite quickly after that they send that link through and you need to complete that one.
That's fantastic. And then I think I'm trying to kind of rack my brain back to last year what the assessments were. I think Jess and Annabelle, you will have had kind of the like situational judgment on your application. So how did you two go about that? I know there are practice tests out there. Did you do any practice tests or did you just kind of jump in?
So I kind of, probably not best to say here, I winged that one, partly because I was lucky enough to have applied to quite a few just before I had applied to undergrad of the year. So it wasn't too bad to just go straight into the situational judgment ones. I mean, at the end of the day, for situational judgment, they're looking for your quick responses. So they want to see, you know, your gut reaction to things and how you might perceive a situation that you would commonly come across at the sponsored. So if you were to go and work for the sponsored company, the kinds of things that you would come across. I think as Jack said, they're looking to see if you're a right fit for the company. So at the end of the day, it's looking for your sort of honest gut opinion on things when you're going through. So they have quite a few short, sharp questions that they ask you, and they just ask you to go for it as quickly as possible. So yeah, unfortunately I did wing it and I didn't do any practice, but yeah.
I think with my one, we actually didn't have a situational judgment one. It was like an essays, and then we had sort of online interviews, I would say. It was like you had to download this app, and then you had like 2 minutes to look at the question, 2 minutes to answer the question, and you couldn't like get any more time than that. So it was very much like you didn't know what the questions were before, and you wouldn't know what the questions were if you had prepared. So there's not really much I can say to help, but I would say that once you do get the question, sometimes just if you can, like, write down a couple of bullet points to keep you in time, because you've only got like a minute 45 seconds to answer it. So yeah, there's not much help really.
Sorry, something that I would add to what I've just said is that I guess there is a way that you can slightly prepare, and that's by looking at the company website and seeing what the values are, you know, those corny things that I talked about first. If you look and see how a company might want you to respond to those things, you might be able to slightly like lean towards that to make yourself look a bit more attractive. But at the end of the day, you do want to be putting your gut reaction down. So if you're thinking the opposite to what a company might be thinking, then maybe they're not the right for you. But yeah, there are ways that you can prepare.
Brilliant. And then Lucy, I think for the category that you were successful in last year, it was just the online personality questionnaire. Is that correct?
I can't remember. Fun side effect of being neurodivergent. You can't remember anything. But I remember there being no like Watson Glaser test or anything, because they realised it's impossible for neurodivergent people. But I believe there was some form of a personality questionnaire, but it more just tried to figure out who you are as a person rather than trying to deduce, you know, if you fit the firm. Because yeah, it can't really put us in a specific bubble of what the perfect candidate looks like. So they were understanding of that.
Yeah, that's completely understandable. So it's the same for this year. It's just the online personality questionnaire. And I think off of the top of my head, because I had to go through and test all the tests for every award, it gives you like 4 kind of adjectives, and it asks you to pick like the 2 that are most like you and the 2 that are least like you.
Yeah.
And you have like 30 of those to go through. So if you are applying in that category, you don't necessarily have anything to worry about when it comes to the tests. And if anybody does need extra time or anything like that at all, that they are normally entitled to at university, if you do drop us an email, we'll be able to get that sorted out for you. No problem at all. So then just kind of moving on to the second stage of assessment. I know you've all kind of mentioned it kind of in bits and bobs. What was the second stage? So you've submitted everything that you needed to by the 30th. You've been successful. You've moved on to the next stage. What then did you have to do? And kind of, did you prepare for it? Did you enjoy it? What kind of things did they ask? I'll open that up to everyone.
Okay, mine's quite quick. So it's we had an assessment center. We had, I think, a case study, but we also had a slight interview, but then an interview after the case study, just with a general thing. The good thing is that they allowed us the case study beforehand and the questions beforehand, so we had time to prepare, which is unlike anything I'd ever had, which is really nice. The case study involved things that they were thinking of, like I think it was involving, trying to figure out where would be the best place to put a site for an environmental thing. I've forgotten what it was. And then the interview was just asking us questions about what our aspirations were for applying, what have we done in undergraduate, why do we think we're a good fit, and things like that, and also why the company. And it was quite nice, I'll be honest. I did have a little bit of hesitation because when I got to that stage, I realized I was the only person who didn't have a computer science or a coding background. So it's very intimidating being the only person who's had 0 coding experience in a room full of computer scientists. But I got to the final, so I guess I somehow figured it out. But it was really nice to sort of do the case study, go through it, and then at the end I just said, "Are there any questions?" And he went, "No, you've just said everything that I was going to ask you," which is really nice.
Always a good start.
So for the future lawyer, in my kind of experience, after the behavioural assessment, there was a submission of 2 more commercial questions. And again, that was a stage you needed to pass. With regards to that, super quickly, it's super important to insert some kind of commercial awareness in there and to really demonstrate that to the employer. After those, it was a 2-panel interview. That was actually quite enjoyable once I finished it and it was done with, but I think that was purely because the 2-panel interviewees that I had were super welcoming, really nice. They wanted to get to know me and also what I had to say. Questions ranged. There was things like things about me, why law, why Clyde & Co., trends in the market and stuff like that. So with interviews, I think it is really important to not only understand the firm itself, but to understand the market that it works in. For example, Clyde & Co. is super in on insurance and things like that. So just having an awareness and be able to showcase that to the interviewers is really important. Other than that, preparation-wise, I would say for me, I would kind of treat it as an exam. So I kind of revised for my interview, basically just trying to understand the company, what they do, any recent deals and stuff, but also then flipping that on its side and also putting that personal aspect to it. I think preparation is key with an interview. There's definitely things you can prepare for well in advance. Competency questions are bound to come up, things like negotiation skills, teamwork and whatnot. So there are aspects you can definitely revise for. But other than that, I would just say enjoy it if you get to that stage. They obviously want you to succeed. They've selected you for a reason. So don't put too much pressure on yourselves.
I would say, following Jack's theme, for law firms, if you're looking at commercial awareness, because I, as a music student, I was like, I don't know what this means. I don't know what this is. Law firms, I think every like major law firm that you're looking at will have like thought leadership pieces, which is the articles that they write. Look at those, because that's what they want you to know about what they do. And even if you go through and you read the headlines and the introductions, although they can be really wordy, a lot of them are in a really accessible format linguistically. So you're not going to be stuck in like legal jargon reading them. They're just sometimes quite interesting. But for Clifford Chance, we did a presentation. So we had to make a slideshow of the project that we talked about, what we did for the LGBT community. So we presented that to a trainee lawyer. They're all really nice. Everyone's going to be really welcoming. Although you should practice for it like an exam. I really back what Jack's saying. It doesn't feel like one when you get there. It just feels like a conversation. And it's really important that you focus on that it is just a conversation. The second part of that, I then had another lawyer come in and I did a case study. So they give you a piece of paper. I think mine was, I'm the lawyer representing like an LGBT startup group. I think there was a group, and I don't want to say it, called Straight Lives Matter. They were also there and they were opposing, and it's up to me how we were going to navigate this relationship. So you don't need legal knowledge for this. It's just, how are you going to react? How are you going to resolve this? It doesn't need to be through law, as I said. But it all feels like a conversation. None of this is like they ask you robotic questions that seem really like incoherent and stuff. It's just a conversation. And I'm pretty sure at Clyde & Co, like Clifford Chance, they're going to be really warm and welcoming. So I wouldn't worry too much when you get there.
Brilliant. And if nobody's got anything else, we'll move on kind of to the next one. So you've all been successful. You've all made it through whatever the second stage was, and you've been invited to the final. So kind of how did that feel when you got the news that you'd been invited to the final? And I'll put that out to everybody again.
I think it caught me slightly off guard when so it was a woman called Anne from the administration department in Rolls-Royce that called me, and I was in the middle of a run. So like I just got to the top of a hill and I was like, oh, thank you so much. Like I didn't expect it in the slightest. But yeah, because it happened, I did my assessments a little bit before. I didn't really know they said that they would get back to you within 2-week period of time, and you sit there nervously for a week, and then I forgot about it. And then when she got back to me, I was a bit gobsmacked, really. I didn't really know what to say, but yeah, it's a good feeling.
And Lucy, I saw you nodding there. Was it also Anne who rang you?
Yeah, it was also Anne. I thought it went badly because I had, again, no idea what I was talking about properly in terms of what computer science sees. So when she said it, I said, are you joking? And I then apologized really quickly because I said, I'm sorry, I just wasn't expecting you to say finalist. I was expecting no. And then she offered me the internship, and I think I kind of had to brace myself against the desk because I thought, no, she didn't just say that. Because not really the kind of person who gets through to like finals. So when she said that, I thought, there's something in the water in Rolls-Royce that's making me say yes. But I was really happy with it. I thought, if there's another step. But I'd already prepared myself to get the no. So I'd already gone, at least I did the assessment center, at least I'd had the practice. So it was just a really interesting way to get to sort of end the morning of a Thursday.
It's a nice way. A nice way to kind of finish your morning on a Thursday. A great way to go into the weekend.
I think I screamed, but I also didn't get a phone call, so I could behave how I wanted to behave. I got an email, and it's the lovely woman who's left Clifford Chance now, she's called Frankie, and it's an email that just said finalist as a subject line. There was like no context, and I opened it and I screamed just because I think, similar to Lucy's experience, being someone who's neurodiverse, and the second being someone who's trans and who's a person of color. I don't see people like me in spaces like awards like this. I don't see people like me in Canary Wharf, if I'm being really honest with you. So I opened it and I finished this. I definitely like cussed a little bit. I was like, oh god, and then I calmed down and then I called my mom. Is what I did.
Nice.
It's a great feeling, and it's a great feeling, especially if you're in law, which it sounds like a few of the questions I've seen people are. It's a lot of rejection. It is a lot of rejection to get into law, and it's consistent. And it might feel hard, especially if you're someone who's very divergent or a person of color. You don't see people like you in spaces that you're applying for. But no, it was really cool. Sorry, I won't go on, but it was very, very cool.
Anybody else? Annabelle, did they ring you from Sky, or was it an email?
Yeah, mine was an email as well. And I remember I was relieved because I was feeling really sad because on the email before, they said they'll let us know by, I think it was like Friday. And then it was like Friday at like 10 p.m. that the email got sent out. Because on the email before it said Friday 5 p.m. So I was like anxiously checking everything. And then I didn't get anything. So I was like, oh, okay, well, I haven't got it. And then 10 p.m. it was like, I got an email from someone called Jasmine Song, and she was the one that was organizing everything. And this is also a side point, but like actually remember who are the people who were like working in, you know, the awards, who was the person that you're speaking to, who's the people like organizing and conducting the interviews and everything like that. So for example, with the Black Heritage, it was someone called Jasmine Song, and there was another person called Nadia Osgood, something like that. And Jasmine Song, she's actually given me some like mentoring off of the back of that, which was great, which was like started from that sort of connection. And Nadia is actually I actually met her afterwards, and then she helped me connect with people in Sky as well. So, like, if you just connect with anyone who is sending you emails, anyone who is doing any of that. Also, Nadia, really weird thing, but she was the like mother of one of my friends from secondary school. So we didn't make that connection until I met her afterwards. And she was
I
like, I
remember
know it.
seeing I remember seeing that on LinkedIn and was
Mhm.
like, Nadia from Sky, but they're at a birthday party. They're in a back garden having a
I was in her
barbecue together.
garden. Honestly, I was in her garden. I was with her dogs, and she was like, "That's where I know you from, the Sky thing." And I was like, "Oh my gosh!" So yeah, that was like a cute little story.
Love that. And then Jack, how did they let you know? Because I know I spoke to you kind of after, like straight after at the final, and you were like, I've just got off the phone to my mom. I've just rang my mom, which was really sweet. So how did you feel kind of when you found out you'd got to the final?
Yeah, so they actually sent me an email. So again, like Junaid, I could act how I wanted. I was actually in my flat. I think there was only one of my mates in there. So I was like I think she was in the kitchen at the time. So I went to her, me and her were just like jumping around with joy because to put so much work into it and then to see the final result. I mean, after submitting those two commercial questions, you're just thinking, was it good enough? Did I do well? And I mean, I'd worked on it for as long as they gave us, really. I submitted it just before the deadline. So just to see it all kind of come together and just have the result that you were really pursuing and looking for was amazing. Like, I'll never live down that day. Like, it was great. And then obviously to get to the final and everything, and just be there with everyone else and speak to some amazing people. Spot on. Couldn't have asked for anything more. It was really good.
I remember seeing Jack when they announced that you won the future lawyer. I remember seeing you walk up to the table. I looked at you and went, as you were walking up to the
I
stage.
remember leaving my table. I can't remember the stage. It's all a blur. I remember getting up from my seat and sitting back down on it. My mum asked, "Did you speak?" I was like, I can't remember. I honestly cannot remember. And then the day just got better from there on. But it's honestly, it was a fantastic feeling, and everyone should give it a shot.
No, that's brilliant. And I think we've answered kind of most of the questions that people have popped in the chat kind of as we've gone. So to just kind of round it off and end it, I spoke to everybody at the final last year, or I tried my very best to speak to everybody at the final, and every single person said, I have no idea why I'm here. Like, I have no idea why I'm here. When I met all these other people at the assessment centre, I was like, there's no way I'm going to make it to the final because they're so much better than me. And and it was literally everybody in the room didn't think they deserved to be there. And I'd obviously had a little bit of a cheeky peek at your applications, and I was like, how do they not think that they're supposed to be here? They're absolutely amazing. So what would your kind of one piece of advice be to somebody who's not sure right now whether they're good enough to submit an application? And we'll go around everybody. So whoever wants to go first.
Oh, I'd love to go first. I think it's really normal to like doubt yourself and like normalize yourself, because imagine like you're amazing, so of course you're going to be surrounding yourself with other amazing people. So when you look at your friends, when you look at your family, your community, and you see how good they are, just think that you're as good as them. That's why you're all together. And I think when you think, okay, well, I shouldn't be here, just remember that it's not even just about winning, but for the fact that you are there, like that is the most important thing. Like, I didn't win, but I view the Undergraduate of the Year Awards as like a key milestone in my life, because after I did that, that was when my life started taking off and I got given so many opportunities and people reached out, and it was because I applied for that. That's why I'm in the job that I'm in right now. So honestly, it's not just about you not being of value. It's about you, first of all, you are of value, but imagine all of the things, all of the amazing people you can meet, all of the friends that you can make, and the experience. I mean, one of my key highlights was I met the founder of the MOBO Awards because she was at the award ceremony. And from that, like, she connected with me on LinkedIn. So it's just like, look at it as like a journey, and you wouldn't be on that journey if you were not of value.
Perfect.
No, I completely agree with Annabelle there. I think something that I thought was worth mentioning is that I appreciate that we've just gone and talked about, you know, being jump scared by Anne from Rolls-Royce or getting a nice cushy email, which must have been quite nice. But I think it's important to take things one step at a time. So at the end of the day, like it's a relatively long process. Like, you've got different stages to look forward to each time. So just take it one step at a time. Start with your essay questions and then go from there. I think don't get intimidated by stuff that's happening later. Just be excited about where you are.
Absolutely. And the way the process has been built, it's been built specifically to kind of mirror a graduate scheme recruitment process. So as Jess said, if you just take it one step at a time, you do the essay question, the online test. If you don't get any further than that, then you've had some fantastic practice. You know what you're in for next time when you do apply for another graduate scheme. If you get to the second stage, then you've been able to kind of practice an assessment centre, hopefully get some feedback, see what that's like. And then obviously if you do make it to the final, it's just a bonus. So yeah, absolutely agree, and just taking it one step at a time. Junaid, Jack, Lucy?
I'll let Jack go. You're about to go. You go.
No, I was just going to say, I agree so much with Brian in just what she said. So for me, I see the applicants, the winners, the finalists all in the same category, no matter what stage you get to. I think the awards just allows you to develop certain skills, no matter how far you get in the application, like Brian said, just to really get into the nitty gritty and just develop things that is going to benefit you in later applications, whether that be for the undergraduate year awards again, if you fit into the category, for future jobs. I think it's just a fantastic way to just develop those skills. And with regards to thinking whether you're good enough or anything like that, just take a look back at your own personal growth. For example, me in third year of uni comparing me to in first year of uni is a completely different person with regards to knowledge, like awareness of the industry I want to go to in that kind of respect. So just take your own little steps, don't compare yourself to others, and each stage is just a fantastic way to learn new skills.
Yeah, no, I think what everyone's saying is all the same, because it's a really similar process for everyone, but also it's really nice to hear that it's also worked out amazingly for everyone as well. What I would say is, for imposter syndrome, Jess's point is a really good point. You don't think about, as much as you want to get ahead and think about the bigger picture, it's one step at a time. So right now, you're not someone who can't make it apply. You're just someone who's put in an application. That's all you need to do. And you just need to make the application as good as can be. The awards are brilliant. I think similar to Annabelle, like the position that I'm in now, so I work as the head of the LGBT network for Sky Retail UK, so across the Scotland world. And I only got that position I was already working for Sky, but through the confidence that I gained at these awards, and it's unreal. I really would recommend it. Also, just before we end, if you guys haven't seen Annabelle's TikTok page, please go on it. It's an amazing page. Was fangirling a little bit, but go on Annabelle's page. Honestly, it's an amazing thing.
Thank you so much.
And then finally, Lucy.
Yeah, so obviously, imposter syndrome when you do law is so rampant. I think Jack can also agree with that. We always have that mentality of what's the point in doing it, because, you know, if you're from a non-Russell group, there's Russell group people there. What's the point in applying? And especially being neurodivergent, when you are sort of working in a world where it's sort of stacked up to be against you in every single aspect, you do feel like there's no point. But applying is sort of that first step towards proving to yourself that you belong in that sort of category or in that sort of area. I think that's really important to remember. There is a reason why you're applying. There's a reason why you're getting to assessment centers. There's a reason why you're becoming a finalist or even winning. It's because you do have the ability, the capability, and the talent to sort of talk to these people and go, I can prove to you that I'm good enough, and here is how. And it's not so much about being the ideal candidate, because if everyone was the ideal candidate, we'd all get our jobs. It's about having little quirks and capabilities that are different to what they expect, that make them go, this person's interesting, I want this person to apply, and I want this person to become a finalist. If you're doing something as nutty as what I did, which is talking about Greek mythology, which I thought was going to make them go, absolutely not, this person, not what I want. It's that they want to see. They want to see you. They want to hear what you've done. And I think also one of my friends, Phoebe Hansen, who was in the Environment Award, which I don't think is this year, she had no idea why she was there either, because she's an environment student and all of the other students were law students. So she has the same mentality, but she is so passionate about the environment and why she's doing it. It's just make sure that your passion is there, because if you're applying without passion, you're not going to get through too many stages. But if you're passionate, not about the companies, but about the reasons for applying for the award, it will get you further than you expect. So just apply, because if you don't, you're going to look back and go, probably should have done it. And it's just going to be regret.
Absolutely. I think that's a really, really lovely note to end the session on. So I just want to say thank you so much to everybody who's tuned in. If you have any other questions at all kind of about the process in particular, you can drop me an email to undergraduateoftheyear@targetjobs.co.uk, and I will be able to answer any kind of questions about the process or anything about entry requirements. And I'm sure the panelists don't mind if you kind of want to send them a connection on LinkedIn, see what they're up to, build your networks. But yes, I hope that's been really helpful for you to go and finish your application now over the weekend. Please don't leave it until last minute. We get lots of applications come through within the last hour of the competition. Don't let that be you, okay? No, let's be organised and get it done in advance so we're not rushing. Nobody likes rushing. So yeah, submit your application over the weekend. Hopefully I'll see lots of people that tuned in today at the final in April. And thank you very, very, very much to all of our lovely panelists. It was so great to catch up with you all and have a chat. And yeah, so thank you very much. Have lovely weekends, everybody, and stay safe. Bye.
Bye, everyone.